Welcome to the BizGrowMojo podcast, the podcast where we get into real talk about business ownership, growth, marketing, learning lessons, and advice with real business owners. Here's your host, Ryan Amon. Now, let's get down to business.
I'm pumped to get this rolling. Let's go. What if you could build AI systems in weeks that would normally take a 10-person engineering team 6 months? Today's guest, Nick Ruest, went from running a local SEO agency to becoming one of the top 0.1% of Agentic engineers worldwide. He's built 20 open source AI projects, created lead generation sites that still pay him years later, and closed over $30 million in sales in a single year. But here's what makes this conversation different. Nick reveals the underground tactics for setting up lead gen sites that rank locally for various industries, why he believes failing every single day is the key to success, and the one mindset shift that transformed everything for him. If you're tired of hearing the same cookie-cutter business advice and want real, in-the-trenches strategies from someone who's done it all, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Well, let's just hop into it then. I appreciate you taking the time to talk today, Nick. Excited to get into the weeds with you. Maybe we can get started by having you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what your business does.
Yeah, sure. So I originally had an agency in 2010 to 2015, and what we did was local SEO, similar to what some of your expertise are, Ryan. We kind of have that in common.
Yeah.
So getting leads on local maps for typically home services businesses, and we had measurable success at that, and even creating the map way back when in many of those industries in Canada's capital in Ottawa. So I did that, but there was an issue, right? So the issue was the service we were providing for our clients wasn't that helpful for ourselves. Because not many people were searching and for marketing services, and it was highly competitive. And we were typically going into lower competition, high search volume industries. So that presented a new problem. And I thought, okay, when I get back into business, I will help small agencies with that problem. And that's what Global Business Advisors originally did, was helped small agencies that were good at SEO and pay-per-click. But their own sort of formula didn't work particularly well for them. So I created an outreach system using LinkedIn to help them find their clients. So that's what we did for a number of years, and we still do have some clients doing that now. But fast forward to 2025, in the age of AI, and over the last several years, I noticed, I'm going to be replaced. So either I'm going to get on board or I'm going to sort of be left holding the bag. So I went headfirst into AI and got my expertise up. I met a mentor that I teach at the Robin School of Management, the MBA program. I co-teach a class with him and another gentleman that introduced me to him. And I was very, very fortunate to be sort of groomed by this guy. Fast forwarded my personal growth in AI, agentic engineering and development tremendously. It's pretty easy when you're getting the right answer to the questions you have all the time, and someone to really follow and coach you. And I'm a big advocate of, if I hear of coaches that don't have coaches, it's like, what do you mean? How could you be a coach without having a coach? And so lately I've been building, systems, full enterprise grade systems that would, even today, many engineering teams of 10 may build in 6 months something that I might have built inside of a few weeks. Which isn't to just say like, oh, I'm the man. It's just the reality of the situation. If you kind of know how to develop those systems, leveraging these swarms of agents and hives of memory and things, you can do you can create tremendous outcomes. And so I did in the middle, work in financial sales. So that's where I really learned how to sell. I thought I knew how to sell. Of course, everybody thinks they know, but
you get out and do a lot of it. And then you're like, I got a couple of things to learn.
That's right. And so that kind of evolved from working on the sales floor to being a manager of sales teams and working in the finance office, and finally into the bank. helping those folks that I once was in the finance office, and eventually sitting in front of automotive dealers, asking them to lend with us. So that's where I really cut my teeth in sales, and had top year in sales of over $30 million. So it was at its peak quite a quite an ordeal. 100 loans a month I was sort of responsible, 80, 100 loans a month I was to get, and successfully hit those. So that's a little bit of it. I know, a little long-winded, but that's sort of the lay of the land.
Yeah, no, that's good. Appreciate you filling us in on some background and stuff there. Very interesting. You've done a lot of interesting things, it sounds like. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the things you're building with AI, and dive into that a little bit more? You really piqued my interest there. I mean, we started talking from LinkedIn, about some of the stuff that you're doing, helping business owners, agency owners there, and so this is all new to me, and I'm curious. you piqued my interest again, and yeah, I'm curious to know more about that.
Well, one of the platforms I'm close to rolling out, it's not quite there yet, but it's called Ad Proof AI, and several years ago, I was excited because I had this my pay-per-click business was developing, and I'm like, oh, I'm growing, like everything's going great, and sometimes life can throw you, and life and business in particular can throw you like real curveballs. And there was an upgrade to the iPhone 14 software, and even people that ran that same software on lower models were able to sort of opt out of being tracked, essentially, right? And my business heavily relied upon buying ads from these, or buying data from these pools, and then we were running our ads against that data. Well, once that sort of was no longer available, it was like, oh, that whole business just sort of went up in flames and died off. It's all all part of the business up and downs, and highs and lows of it. But what this platform is designed to do is sort of mitigate some of that, to actually help. I'm going to actually target Shopify owners specifically, just to at least have a very specific segment initially. And what it's going to do is just help them to improve their return on ad spend. So it's going to track events. And of course, the first reaction might be like, well, doesn't that happen already inside of like Meta or Google ads and stuff? It does, but it doesn't do it the justice of what really is happening.
We'd like to see, right?
Yeah.
Attribution's always tricky.
Right. And so there's several platforms out there in the market right now that do that very successfully. But where we're differentiating ourselves is with an agentic payment system. So this is kind of like getting into like a specialized structure of how the payments will work. And there's essentially baked into the platform sort of three different methods of the end users, the Shopify store owners, actually executing these recommendations. So there's a fully manual, okay, here's the recommendations, you have to apply them. And that's sort of the way that things are generally done on these platforms today. The second is sort of a semi-autonomous version where they can allow the system to do certain things with their budget reallocation, and then fully autonomous. Okay, you trust the system, you're just letting it run, and it is really optimizing on an ongoing basis using groups of agents, swarms of agents, we call them, right? And so they're actually going to be looking at the activity, shutting down budgets for things that are underperforming, and increasing budgets for things that are performing on a sort of ongoing basis every 5-10 minutes kind of thing.
Wow. So it's just kind of like having people managing your ads, but it's AI, and they're probably doing it 1,000 times faster and a lot more of them than would typically be on your account, right?
That's right. Yeah. You have a huge team of people, right? And the other differentiator is we're not going to have this like massive upfront startup fee, which most companies have, because they have to get on with the customer on a call, Zoom call or whatever, and they actually have to build these like authentication apps inside of their accounts. And that can be a little tedious at times, right? And
I can imagine, yeah.
We're streamlining this process with MCPs for each of the providers, both to collect the activity from the Shopify stores as well as from all the ad platforms, where they can just like log in, click, click, click. Yes, I'm giving permission, just like anything you sign up for.
Yeah.
Click, 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 and you're up and running, and turn it on, done. you're live. So there, it's very self-serve as opposed to the, having to get on calls, and there's no need for this, thousands of dollars to start up. And, but there is going to be a guarantee of, if we don't improve your ad, return on ads, percentages over the first 90 days, you don't have to pay. Wow. So it's going to be sort of backed up in that way. Yeah.
Really putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Yeah. It doesn't seem like there's very many marketing services or, anything along those lines that have those type of guarantees. I mean, I know there's a few people out there that's like, hey, we can guarantee you number one rankings in this market. And it's like, sure, for something that I don't care about. Yeah, I get that. That works.
Yeah. Something that no one searches for, right, Ryan? Yeah. Like everyone's doing that, or they take a company that's on page 2 that's is cut their teeth on doing what they can and say, oh, I'm, a local SEO company, I got these guys ranked. Well, they were on the bottom of page 2 and you started working with them. But so there are companies in the space that are guaranteeing this lift in the first 90 days. And it's sort of why we're following suit. Just we have to be competitive, of course, but they don't have that autonomous reallocation in the back end of their systems. They have the AI print tracking to actually get the information, but they don't have that autonomous swarm of agents running in the background, and they also have a massive startup fee. So there's that too. Yeah.
So do you only do this for Shopify stores? Is there any particular industry that you work in more? Is it just basically any type of a Shopify store this will work for?
Yeah, anyone that's running ads, and in the monthly investment will be based on the amount of tracked revenue that's going on. And that's part of the reason why, e-commerce, it will work for software as a service companies, AI as a service, probably. It's just something that can be attributed to some sort of transaction, right? Okay, that's what's required for it. But I just decided to look at Shopify stores. I think, there's 6 million or something crazy like that of them out there. I feel like I could make a decent business out of maybe, a couple hundred of these 6 million. So I think that should keep me busy for a while. And it really segments also the technical development initially to make sure that, I don't go too wide and I deliver something that's a really quality product to people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very interesting. So is there like a average percentage of increase or, something that can kind of give somebody an idea of, what the change typically is they see in the improvement?
Well, we'll know soon, right? But because we're still developing the platform, but those things are coming down the pipeline now, and I think we'll have a better understanding of that and be able to say, on average, this is what the clients were able to get out of it, and there'll be some brave and friendly initial Shopify owners that will test the platform without being charged for it, to letting them know, like, hey, this is the first 3-5 people that are running this thing, and guinea pig, and I'm gonna have to go out there and find some Shopify owners to do that. I've also considered maybe just opening up a Shopify store to maybe do this on my own, run it without it, and then with it, and see what the differences were.
Interesting. Yeah.
So yeah.
Right on. Well, what was the kind of the aha moment that made you, want to go this route? There's a lot of Shopify stores, but was there anything in particular that, made you kind of decide to go down that path other than just the numbers?
Well, the first piece, like I think you're talking about Shopify in particular. It's just really, part of it was that I was looking at Amazon stores. It's a little bit more challenging as far as I'm concerned to get those Amazon pipes kind of working properly. So that was part of it, just simplicity of the initial, connection to Shopify just seemed to be a little bit easier for me to do. So that was part of it. The other thing is I'm from Ottawa and Shopify is based out of Ottawa. So I think there might be a little bit of bias going on there. It's a local place, so it's top of mind. And so there's maybe part of that too. But as far as the actual business model of creating ad-proof AI, it really came from that experience of getting nailed with that iPhone 14 privacy update. And then it was kind of in the back of my mind, like, it's similar to the old agency problem of our system doesn't work for us, like, going down from 35 grand a month in revenue down to basically next to nothing because the system is no longer working. Because I can't buy this data anymore. Like, that was a pretty painful experience to go through. So I think that really was the determinant factor in kind of wanting to address that problem. And that's what a lot of these businesses, they were actually built out of that several years ago when that event actually occurred. They're like, oh, well, we have all these ad clients, like, we need to do something about it, so they actually went to building it then. I unfortunately didn't have really the cash reserves to actually pursue that project at the time, but fast forward a few years and becoming an agentic engineer and being able to develop these things affordably and at a higher quality level than a lot of the platforms that exist already. I thought, maybe it's time to go down that road now.
Cool. Yeah, that's interesting. So what have you been doing, up to the point? Because it sounds like this is kind of in the works, right? You haven't really launched this particular project yet. So what have you been doing, like, kind of, leading up to that? I know, you reached out to me about some LinkedIn things that you're doing there, and helping people get business through LinkedIn and that sort of thing. Has that been your main focus, kind of leading up to
that? And some of these old local SEO sites, like I have all these old lead gen sites that are still generating revenue, right? So I work on a lot of the client sites as well, window cleaning, eavesdrops, electricians, plumbers, roofers, etc., ranking their sites, right? Or ranking a lead gen site for them. Awesome. If they already have their site ranking, they want to be kind of like 2 spots in the top 5 or something.
Yeah. So you're still doing local SEO.
Yeah, I still do it. Well. I still do it. Yeah, because it comes in. I don't solicit it, but when you do a good job, your name just continues to circulate, right? And the friend of the contractor is, the roofer's friend is this and that and whatever. And it's like, well, how did we get this job? Like, how did you find this job? Oh, this guy, he helps me, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he can help you, and so on. So that wheel just keeps turning, and I'll build up an additional lead gen site every once in a while. Most of the last ones I built were in like 2019, 2020, and a lot of them are picking up steam now. I know that sounds like a long time, but it's like, we all know time goes fast. And I do a lot, mostly coaching on the LinkedIn side these days of best practices, small agencies, some business professionals. Just how do you go about doing this, right? Like, how do you actually target properly? How do you message properly? How do you convert those people into calls? And then, okay, now you got some calls. Great, you got that far, but like, what now, right? And so helping them then actually convert those into actual paying clients.
Awesome. So it's kind of like a combination of coaching, sales coaching, and lead generation, it sounds like, as far as like LinkedIn goes. And then you still got your hand dipped in local SEO and doing that sort of thing too.
Yep. And now the AI contracts are starting to come in, consulting contracts, small builds of various, like somebody has an idea, they say, oh, I want you to build it. I see you're building stuff. And open source projects, like I have something in the works that I think will make my life a lot easier, we'll say. It's called LM DevOps. It's a new platform that I'm developing. I've basically created 20 open source projects as the sort of footings for it. And now I'm moving into, I just finished up the 20th one last night, or this morning, very early this morning, we'll say. And moving into sort of an intelligence layer for that, as well as sort of a layer which incorporates various parts of the initial 20 footings, we'll call it, and those 6 to 8 projects which incorporate various combinations of the initial 20 footings. These are all open source projects that would take engineering teams a long time to build each one.
Like what kind of projects are we talking about? Can you get
into details? So LM DevOps, like I've built, something called LLM Shield, LLM Test Bench, LLM Cost Ops, LLM Forge, LLM Latency Lens, LLM Connector Hub, so LLM Config Manager. So these are all LLM Analytics Hub. It's all part of a end-to-end LLM enterprise LLM management system, and it will, the idea is to actually sell it pre-revenue to, a private equity firm maybe, or a company that's actually in LM DevOps to accelerate their, save them money on engineering costs. I'm not blowing my horn. I'm just getting taught by the right people, this is something that would take a 10, 12 person engineering team several years to develop. So if that would cost them $30 million, then I would say, take it off me for 10, and here you go. So that's what I'm looking to do with that project. It should be like, I'm mostly primarily focused on that one right now, more so than AdProof AI, which it's not that I lost interest in it. It's just I feel like this one that I'm building now is a real significant opportunity. Like I may actually work the AI, the AdProof AI, and actually acquire clients and manage the business and so on. This one I think I'm just going to send off, but the full platform, the LM DevOps platform, will likely be ready by the first of the year. So I'm just been sprinting for several months on that one. But that's the one I'm really excited about because people are adopting it. People are using it. Crates and npm.js packages. People are downloading it. People are using it. So there's obviously use for it. Like I published it publicly on several of these places where developers can go and download these packages and use them. And they are doing that, right? So that's exciting, It's exciting to see them actually using it and people getting value out of it.
Is that the only thing you've done to promote that, to get users on board in a phase like this, or?
Yep. That's all I did was just public package something called Crates. It's mostly built in Rust and TypeScript, almost all Rust, but the odd time there might be something that sort of pulls together various things where it's more of like a dashboard, likely a dashboard type thing. I'm not really going to put a UI on this thing. Probably it will just be strictly command line oriented and software development kits and things. But yeah, I just published it to npm.js and people are downloading it, not in the thousands or anything, but hundreds of people per week per project, some smaller than others, but are using it. So it's obviously aligned with what people are kind of
must be heading in the right direction in some capacity if you're getting hundreds of users on board before you've even done anything to advertise it. That's impressive.
Yeah, and it's also a open source it's open source available, right? So it's not like paying users, it's like just people using it, right? But that's kind of the idea, is to get them, more and more people using the environments, and to show, like, people that are looking to acquire something similar, like, hey, people are actually using this. There is adoption. There is obviously a need for this. Like, take a look, and particularly those that have a roster of enterprise clients already. It's like, man, you could just sell this to your existing clients and double your business that you're doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, sounds like you've got a lot of irons in the fire. It's there's a lot of directions we could go here, but maybe we can talk a little bit more just about some of your agency work, where that's a little bit longer established. Kind of curious about, what some of the, things that you've done in the past that you've seen help grow that. I know you say you're not really actively, pushing it now, but, what were some of the channels that seemed to help in the past to help you gain new clients and that sort of thing?
For the local SEO side of it, what I would typically do is, the sales system is fairly easy. It's the upfront work that is a little bit harder. So it's like, you can go two routes with that. You can have a kind of like a challenging sales situation, or with basically no upfront work outside of that, or you can do the work up front and your sales become basically so simple, right? I would build like a pseudo business, like something that's part of my imagination, and I would create it, and then the leads are actually coming in. So you're just selling the outcome. So you call up a couple of people and you say, listen, I've got a lead for you, but this is how it works. This is how the system works. You can try it. I'll give you one lead, but then if I give you one lead and you see that it's real and you want to continue, you need to pay $500, and then I'll deduct the lead cost from that we agree to. And when you run out, I will recharge and recharge and recharge and keep doing that. And I send them reports, of course, of what they're getting, but that's the way it works. And it's very, very simple. It's like, if you get a lead and then you don't pay, like you don't go forward, then you're out. I just go on to the next guy. Phone rings again, or form submission comes in. Okay, I call up the next guy that was interested, and I'm like, hey buddy, I do the same thing. And then within, usually it's two guys, like the first guy burns you, the second guy's good, or whatever. It's just kind of the way it works, right? But it's really simple for me to get clients on that model. But what's hard for people to do that is because they don't actually know what they're doing, right? So they wouldn't be able to actually get the call to sell to someone because they don't have the expertise to actually make that happen. Whereas and again, I'm not blowing my horn. It's just, that's the way that I do it.
Your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, exactly, man.
So you're kind of building like lead generation system to get clients on board too. So then you would start doing like SEO for them once you've sold them, maybe in addition, or not.
Maybe maybe not. Yeah, it can be in a combination of both, where we're ranking their site as well as our site, or what have you. That it turns into that, and more often times a referral channel, and then from the referral channel of the guy that you sold leads to, that typically will turn into an on-client site contract, because you're no longer calling a stranger. They're like, hey, you got Bob all these leads. Like, how are you getting these leads, man? Like, I need these leads. Like, he's getting deals from it. And it's like, okay, well, I don't, like, let's just say it's plumbing in, Toronto or something. Like, I don't have a plumbing site in Toronto. I just tell the guy, like, listen, man, I don't have a plumbing site in Toronto, but you're a plumber in Toronto. I can help you get ranked on your site. And the guy, will say, well, I just want the leads. Say, well, you might have to wait 2 years. How's that sound? And I don't want to do that. Well, okay, well, your site's already ranking on page 5. Let me help you get it to rank on page 1, and we can do this in a shorter amount of time, And that's where almost all of my on client site stuff has came through referral from someone from my lead gen sites. So that's how that kind of spins. But if you call enough and you get your pitch down, you can get deals done. But, typically what helps a lot in that space is like, okay, you search for some sort of service, right? And then if you see like an ad that's like running and it's not related to the search, that's probably a good person to maybe call to try and prospect,
Oh yeah.
So there's that, and just like people that you can see are trying but not getting the result, maybe, and like, how do you see that, or whatever. But I mean, finding someone that's got some reviews but not hundreds, like you start to figure it out, like, because just calling everyone is not necessarily the best way to do it. But maybe they're advertising in Canada we have Kijiji, in the United States you have Craigslist, like maybe they're advertising there, they're making posts there, just they've shown some sort of initiative that wants that showing they want more business. That's a good indication. Maybe they have a paid Yellow Pages profile, and then you're basically just going in and sort of, respectfully bashing Yellow Pages kind of thing, and highlighting all the kind of shady things they do. Yeah. So you might go that way, right? So Rogers Outrank, back in the day, we have Rogers Communication is big in Canada. Like they, it was easy to spot their work, right? And so that would be an easy one for us to call and say, I know you're paying $3,000 a month with Rogers Outrank, and you see my site, it's at the top. Look it's right there.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you want to pay $1,000 a month, and I'll do a better job than they're doing now, this kind of thing. So there's those opportunities as well. But just calling, right? Calling and not asking for the owner. For heaven's sakes, don't ask for the owner. Like you have to be clever. And I'm not going to give away all my tricks today, but it's you have to just get past the gatekeeper, and do it in such a way which, it's a cat and mouse with those gatekeepers, admin people and things, right? And well, it's like, this is the one thing I would get people to think about. Like, what's the balance between, because they're going to get in trouble if they send through someone they shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing. But they're also going to get in trouble if they don't send someone through that they should have.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to be the person that they think to themselves, well, I don't want to get in trouble, but I don't want to get in trouble. Like twice they think about that, right? And then they decide, well, this is a little above my pay grade, and I should send them through for this reason. And that's what people don't really think about. They just think about themselves, and they think, well, I want to talk to the owner. I want to make money. Me, when all they have to do is just take for a moment and think about other people, and then they will easily start to think and develop a strategy to become one of the things that like, put yourself in that administrator shoes for a moment and think like, what I'm saying to that administrator or office manager or whatever, is what I'm saying in line with the way that he or she is thinking about the current situation? And can you say something that immediately gets you, put on hold and transferred over to the key decision maker? And if you can articulate that, or another one that was big for me just learning was, because I have all these lead gen sites, I get pitched constantly from Yellow Pages, 401, and all these major lead providers. So what I did, and this was like a number of years ago, is I'm like, oh, they pitched me. So I grabbed the recording. I got a call tracking system, right? And I grabbed the recording, and then I put it together and listened to them all. And like, okay, so what was good about all these, and what was bad, and how'd they approach it? And Rogers Outrank was fairly close to the pitch that we were taught way back when by a mentor out of West Palm Beach, Florida, who is really, really good at ranking sites. And I still run his blueprint today, and it still works. I just have to work a little harder at it, But other than that, so I don't know if that was too long-winded, but
no, that's good. Kind of reverse engineering some of the other marketing companies' pitches and
yeah.
taking what's good out of them. That's awesome. So it sounds like you kind of were utilizing a lot of just kind of cold outreach where it made sense, real strategic to get new clients. Anything else you were finding that was working well to get new clients other than, kind of what you've talked about?
Well, the simple one is just calling someone that's spending on ads, right? Because they're obviously interested, and of course,
money,
like if they're spending money, they want business, and that's not such a bad place to be. And I think, not necessarily the number one bidder kind of thing. Like, look, maybe in the weeds a little bit more, like, maybe the person that is spending on ads but isn't really getting much traction out of it. And for me, it was easy to sell ads to the people selling to buying ads. Like if they're not getting the conversions they want, or they may be willing to try another campaign with you, even with the other one running, kind of thing. But in terms of organic SEO and local services and things, that works well as too. Like I know you're looking to get business. Like I noticed you look at their site that they're sending the landing page ad to. Like, oh well, you're just sending your ad to the homepage, bro. Like you're not doing yourself any favors. Like I know this isn't working. It's working. It's like, no, I know it's not working because I know you're not doing it right. And things like that. And then just running a rank report on anyone that's sort of serious. And most rank report services you can kind of run as, if you get to that level of not unlimited, but fairly close to unlimited, you reserve certain number of runs for your existing clients, of course. But, if you have 10, 20 clients and you have 100 runs a month, well, there's 80 runs you can use to try and generate clients, right? Yeah. And that's simple as, a Bright Local account the Bright Local is what I use. Used to be Raven Tools way back when.
I remember that.
Yeah. You're OG. So some of the stuff that I talk about that other people will be like, what the hell are you talking about? But sending those rank reports, it can be very valuable. And then you just say like, listen, man, like take a look at this rank report. It's not me. It's the facts, like this is where you rank and I can help you get leveled up.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, some good methodologies there, it sounds like. Was there anything that, as you were kind of growing your agency that you ever, was like, oh, that was a mistake, or you wasted money on a certain channel or anything like that was a good learning curve for you?
I mean, there was a lot of that. Like I really suffer from, shiny object syndrome, so I went in, maybe not so much a channel, but just the whole, I'm approach to wanting to try different things. And I think to some extent you need to do that to find things that work for you, sure. But certainly not the rate in which I did it. But there was a lot of these like affiliate coaching programs and cold email outreach programs that, I just wasted a lot of money on early in and I'm not going to name these people, but if you message me privately, I will name them privately, but it's just that we're highly successful, but were successful because their initial one person got results, and then they built up that person into this sort of facade of making shitloads of money, and then marketed the crap out of those 2 or 3 stories, and the rest of everyone is sort of not getting that outcome, but they're charging a lot for those. And it's just, there's some of the most successful marketers out there are like the most shadiest people you'll like ever meet,
Yeah, there definitely are those.
so just, that maybe just being really cautious about, and to in their defense, like maybe I didn't put in the time and effort required, but for the most part, the programs that have worked well for me I started to see, even by putting in like serious effort in a fairly short period of time, started to see some sort of traction forming, right? And when that's not the case and you're just like working your ass off and you don't really see anything happening, it's kind of hard to justify to continue to invest your time in something, and many of these people, like even myself to some extent, if I was to sell a local SEO training course or something in 2025, it might be a little misleading, right? Because like I had a lot of success in the early 2010s, right? So when the map didn't even exist in a lot of places north of the border here in Canada, we were actually creating the map. So I that might be a little bit misleading to
Sure.
to do that, right? But that's exactly what these guys are doing. Like they had success 15, 20 years ago with a thing that wasn't really very well known at the time, and now there's a millions of people doing it, and it's a highly competitive, and you just got to be a little careful with those situations.
Sure. Yeah, it's crazy how much in the industry has changed. It does seem like it's a lot more saturated than it was like 10 years ago, and more difficult to get results, quite honestly. Yeah. What kind of tools have you found really helped you in your agency?
On the local SEO side, or in like LinkedIn outreach. Like LinkedIn outreach is really Sales Navigator oriented, obviously.
Yeah. Interested in becoming a guest, sponsoring episodes, or have suggestions for the show? Check out our website at BizGrowMojo.com. Also, you can sign up for our newsletter where you'll get updates about upcoming episodes and guests, special offers, insights and breakdowns from previous episodes, as well as marketing and business tips you can apply to your own business. Go to bizgrowmojo.com/newsletter.
You unlock InMails, you unlock just like some targeting, some active, you can see who's active as a user. Like these different things make a significant difference. That's definitely been useful. Like now I have a lot of cloud in LinkedIn, so it's sort of turned into a lot of inbound stuff. But yeah, I ran Sales Navigator for like 7 years, like every month for 7 years kind of thing. So that's a big piece of it. Bright Local for these things. I don't do a lot of submission tools or anything. But I do use like vendors to do a lot of fulfillment, but a lot of folks would be like, oh, well, I have vendors and whatever, but you have to know how to buy, and like, it's like a lot of work, like to get something to really work that you bought for a service, but you need to optimize your videos, you need to optimize your pictures, you need to optimize your phrases, you need to optimize your descriptions and all the things that you give them to do the work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work vetting them and making sure that you're getting somebody that actually is done in a way that makes sense and not just kind of half-assing things. And yeah, I would say it's tough for people that don't really know the industry to hire vendors. You see this happen a lot where a law firm or whatever will be like, oh, we're gonna work with this guy out of Pakistan or whatever because he's super cheap, and it's like, okay, but without knowing what you're really doing, that could be lighting a big fire.
Yeah, because it could be making it worse, right? Like, it could, right? Like, not all work in these areas is beneficial. It can be damaging to your opportunity, and if you don't give them really strict kind of parameters, if you don't know how to have done that yourself, it can be very bad. Like, you can waste a lot of money, and you have to give them everything they need, and then just tell them, like, listen, I need you to do this when you do this for every submission or every post or whatever. You need to follow this really strict criteria, and you need to use these particular images that I gave you, because those images have keywords stuffed into the back of those like they're optimized. Those images they have been put on whatever it's called, geo imager or whatever the shit is, and it's given the parameters associated with that. Your Google listing is there and all stuff. Yeah, so like you need to do all that work. And if you don't know how to do that work and you just give them some photos and give them like some generic ChatGPT description, and you haven't optimized anything, it's not going to work. Well, it's going to be better than nothing, but
not as good as it could be.
Or even at half the effort and half the dollars, right? Like it could be, or even at 1/10 of the dollar spend could be better than, $1,000 could be better than $10,000 if you actually give the proper instructions, meta descriptions, keyword phrases, industries that they're going to select, and these optimized videos, optimized pictures, and all this stuff. Like it's important, man. This shit's important. Sure. Like if you don't do it, it won't work.
The problem is just you don't know what you don't know, right? It's kind of like if somebody buys a restaurant and they go in to just manage it and they know nothing about the industry. If they don't have somebody that does in there, things are going to fall apart, and that's kind of I think a good analogy for some of these businesses. Like, well, we're going to hire a contractor to do this stuff. And it's like, if you don't know what you're doing, you need to have somebody that does to manage that contractor, or else you're just, it's the blind leading the blind a lot of times. And some of the contractors might know a thing or two about whatever it is they're doing, but there's typically a reason why they're working for cheap, because they usually specialize in something and they're just kind of, fulfilling. They're just doing what they're told. And if they're misguided, like you said, it can be pretty damaging.
Yeah. And even like when you do have a client for a while and then they see what you're doing and then they're like, well, we know what we're doing now. And then they start posting random shit, and it's going to get flagged, basically, like a high volume. Yeah. And then that's what happens sometimes. You get discontinued, and then they come back and say, oh, well, our rankings dropped. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you made like 100 posts. Sorry, I should have said 100 posts. You might have to beep that out. But 100 posts in a week, and they're not optimized properly, or you've over optimized them. And then they're wondering, well, why is it? And you've direct backlink to your website a bunch of times. Like you're an idiot. Like you're screwing it up. Like I had it all set up perfectly. You're already ranking. You're already in the top 5 on the maps and all these phrases. All you had to do is leave it alone.
I keep doing what I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't touch it anymore. Give me a call if it sinks and I'll fix it up for you,
Yeah.
But and then sometimes these things are very hard to undo, right? Because once the damage is done, you're flagged. You've raised a red flag. When I had a bunch of green flags and checkered flags, and then you raised a bunch of red flags, and now we can't they can't unsee that.
Yep. Yeah. It's kind of like, I'm sure you remember the days of manual penalties. We had clients come to us. And, hey, I don't know what happened here. Like, we got this manual penalty, or sometimes they got a penalty, but there was no notification, and it was like a manual penalty. And it could be a little tricky getting people out of those, once that had happened. Then a lot of building back up, even once they did get out of them too, because it's like, it just knocks them so far back. And Google's not handing out a lot of manual penalties these days, but I'm sure there's plenty of algorithmic trips that happen that are like, we won't tell you, but basically you're penalized.
Yeah. And you can see from that, the old rank report, right? Like all of a sudden everything drops.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know if we went off into the weeds of outsourcing and the way of doing it. But,
that's okay. That's all right. Yeah. I was looking forward to getting in the weeds a little bit with you. Speaking of which, maybe you could tell us a little bit more just about some of your lead gen sites. I find that really fascinating. That was something that, I just always found that interesting, how people were doing that in different markets. It sounds like you were mostly in home services industries. Have you ever, I know there's some industries I think it'd be really difficult to do that in, like, for instance, maybe law or medical, just because you can't really run that business without the credentials and that sort of thing. So it's kind of hard to set up a lead gen site to do that. But just curious if you've done in other industries and, what industries you've had the most success in, and maybe
Mostly home services, I've done a little bit for like accountants and bookkeepers with their consent. Like it wouldn't be a site that's for everyone kind of thing. It'd be a site that they own that I created as a lead gen site for them. But it is generally service oriented. Plastic surgeons I've done a bit for back in the day, which was kind of a funny one. But it generally is, it's just home services, pools, lawn care, roofing, cleaning is a little bit competitive, but I've done cleaning as well. Kind of got into that in a couple markets before the riffraff came, so I still have some footings in that space too. But that's generally what I've done it for. Is I don't like locksmith. I don't do anything financial. I don't do anything real estate. It's all just too stupidly competitive and too much compliance. Anything with compliance, I'm just like, forget it. I'm not coming. You're not going to see me. I'm not here. Like accounting and bookkeeping, there's some compliance issues and stuff, but I generally do those for the client. Even if it was started from scratch, I still will do it, and they will actually own the asset, not me.
Interesting.
But I'm a little paranoid, but I definitely locksmiths, no chance, because
so competitive.
Well, it's really competitive, but there's a lot of extra rules around that, right? Because it's like super hyper urgent and stuff. So it's just been one of those ones that's they've added all this extra law around doing this type of thing. So I'm just like, you know what? As soon as this started coming up in the news, I'm like, forget it. No more locksmith. Sold my locksmith shit to the locksmith guys. But there's that. One of them that was a bit obscure. It's a little bit less per lead, but higher volume is dent repair. That's a good one that I really like because no one really thinks about it. And then it's like, well, lots of people got dents, lots of people searching for dents, not a lot of people playing in dents.
there you go.
So that's all it is, right? Like, what has like at least 1,000 searches per month over, say, 6 local keyword phrases that no one's in or very few people are in? That's kind of the thing, and it's like a chicken and egg. Like, what are you talking about? Like, if there's a lot of volume something, then everyone's going to be in it. But I can assure you there are some industries out there that have high volume and not a lot of competition, and those are the ones you want to find and settle yourself in. Interesting.
Well, I don't know how far you're willing to get in the weeds of this, but are you willing to talk a little bit about any of your methods or tactics setting up lead gen sites, kind of how you get that started?
Yeah, one thing that's changed from years ago till now is that everyone knows to use a virtual office, but there's sort of an agreement, a sort of handshake agreement plus payment from many virtual offices to Google for it. And almost all of them don't have this due diligence completed. They just kind of hope, and they don't want to pay Google for this. Most of them, you can't get a PIN. Excuse me. Most of them, you can't get a PIN anymore. Because there's a fee for them to send pins to these virtual offices, and most of them just aren't professional enough to pay. So that's one criteria you're going to want is to say, can you get Google pins or not, right? Yeah. And will you write it in the contract that if you won't give me a Google pin, or Google won't send the pin to your office, that you will refund me my money, because it's the only purpose of me going to do it in the first place. Self-storage is another one that can be useful, but the problem with self-storage is they're often situated outside the primary part of the city. So that's not going to help you, right? You want to be in the center of the city as much as possible, so that when Google does like a radius around you, that it reaches out to these, inner city suburbia places and whatever. But if it's outside, if it's like, let's say in the south, like, okay, yeah, part of it's going to go into maybe the core, but a bunch of it's going to go out into the country or something. And I got nothing wrong with it. I got nothing bad to say. I'm from the country. So but for this, you want to be in the center of it, and then you're getting all of the major cities surrounding. To make sure you have the exposure.
Do seem like they, or oddly are in pretty, city areas.
If you find one like that, then you should use it, and try to get a pin that way, and just buy the least expensive locker they have. If they have a mailbox, great. But one caveat, I'm not saying go get a mailbox. I'm saying use the cheapest thing the storage place has, and they will sign you up, and they will allow you to send mail there, and make it very clear to the person, listen, everything's going to get thrown out except the one Google envelope one time. Everything else you just throw it. They're like, okay, this sounds like a good deal to me. $25-$30 a month to do basically nothing. That sounds good to me. And you'll probably have 50% off of the virtual office space. I just work at the virtual office because generally in my cities, the storages are all like outside the city kind of thing. But don't get a mailbox at like a UPS store or a FedEx or something. This is not going to work. This is not going to work.
For a long time.
It hasn't worked for a long time.
There was a time.
There was a time. Yeah, you got it, man. And so that's getting it set up. Virtual, getting a Twilio account, getting a forwarding phone number. So you have a phone number that you can send somewhere else. I have a call tracking platform that I use. I'm married to that platform, but there are other alternatives which are significantly more affordable than the one that I'm using and have been using for quite a long time. So you'll be able to find those out there, but just make sure that they have the Twilio, capability to use Twilio numbers, and make sure that you own these numbers. For heaven's sakes, make sure that you have to have a Twilio account, and that those numbers being purchased are actually showing in your Twilio account. That's a big thing, because whoever owns that phone number owns the lead flow, right? And if a lot of these platforms are shisty people, and then they actually own your phone numbers, and then you can't leave, and then they keep raising the price of the platform, and you can't leave because you have your calls coming in. So just be mindful of that.
That's good advice.
So and that's it, right? Like putting the keyword phrase, the local keyword phrase in the company name, so that you're not being penalized every time you, like, that's one extra vote you're getting all over the internet every time you put the company name, and it's obviously I got to put the company name, so that's also a pretty crucial piece of it.
Yeah, that exact match domain Google's been saying for years it doesn't work, but we all know that there is something still going on there.
I don't buy it, but yeah.
No, that's interesting though with the storage facilities. I wasn't aware that there was very many storage facilities out there that actually you could use in that manner and get mail sent there and that sort of thing. So that's really cool. It's a good tip.
Yeah, assuming it makes logical sense, right? Like lawyers would keep records there. Electrician might have his stuff there, and that might be his office actually, right? So it has to make sense, but for the most part it does. Like for an accountant, it may not, like that may not make sense. So you kind of it has to make sense with the industry, but for most of them, it would, maybe not professional services so much, but the stuff that I do, for
a lot of stuff. Yeah, it would. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, very cool. I appreciate the tips there for the audience and myself. Like the storage unit thing, I hadn't thought of that before. That's a good one. We would recommend people, go to somebody's office and kind of make a suite there. A lot of times that seems to work pretty well, but a little different for doing a lead gen site. But it could be something that would work. But yeah, no, that's interesting.
Well, it came to me because that was my first job at a university. It's where I learned how to run a business properly, was at a storage facility, quite a large storage facility. So, that's, I didn't like the job at the time, but, like a lot of things in life, something you didn't like when you were doing it really pays off in the long run. I see these businesses that are complete mess, from an admin standpoint. And I always think like if I wasn't in storage and hate my life for a couple of years there, I wouldn't have these critical business management skills that I'd still be without them, you know, and my billing would be a mess and I'd be underwater, and, you know, just having that basic foundation was a huge help and well worth it. Yeah.
Things that just help you build up your business ownership skills that, you know, will last for a long time. Speaking of which, how would you say, you know, being a business owner has affected your life, and, you know, what impact has it had on it?
Well, I certainly done a lot of self-growth that I would never have done. Right. And you just kind of go through the motions, and you're kind of fight or flight a lot, and you're running to work and you're running here and you're running there. And, it's really taught me that it's not the things outside that affect their success, right? It's you. It's like, how much better can you become? Like, if you can become better, things will be better. That's just how it works. And that sort of soul searching and self-improvement and personal growth at a level that just you just can't do that working every single day. Like, well, I don't have time for personal growth. Like, I got to hit my target, or I got to do this, or I got to do that, or my boss needs this, or my colleague needs that, or whatever. But, you know, particularly over the last several years, you know, just like realizing, okay, if I can be more than I can have more than I have because I can be more than I am, kind of thing. And and that sort of super focus on self-improvement, it's amazing. And just getting out of that fight or flight kind of mentality, and it's very hard, right? Like, our whole life we're wired to live in that zone, and to sort of step back and never really, like, very seldom fall into that kind of mode. It really is satisfying and fulfilling, like, well beyond any sort of cash, like, you know, or ups and downs. Like, what has it been like? Like, I mean, making basically next to nothing for however long, you know, for years and years. Like, I left a six-figure, you know, almost multiple six-figure job to make 12 grand, to make 24 grand the next year, to make 24 grand again, to make 30 grand. It's like, oh, I haven't made 30 grand since I was like 20 years old or something, you know? So those things are challenging, and, you know, to get out of that comparison trap, like, oh, if I stayed working my previous job, I might have been miserable, but I would have made like 800 grand by now, you know, kind of thing. And, so really just realizing that there's more to life than like doing what you really love doing and improving yourself. And that's worth more than maybe a house or a family, even if that's what you desire. You'll get those things, like, you'll still get those things, right? But maybe you might have to wait a little bit of time. But in the meantime, you've really done something you love doing, and you look forward to it. Like, I love what I do, you know, like, it's the best thing, you know. And people say, why do you work so much? I'm like, well, it's kind of like a hobby, you know, like, I kind of love it, and I spend my free time doing it, you know. And you know, there's parts of the business I don't love doing, like, you know, but at the same time, for the most part, I'm enjoying it. Like, you know, feels like a vacation every day, even though I'm busting my ass, you know, 12, 15 hours. I still really like what I do. And so I hope that sort of doesn't circle the wagon too much.
No, that's good. Yeah. I think it takes a little reprogramming to kind of get out of being employed and into that mindset, like you were talking about. It makes a lot of sense. Do you feel like you've achieved success in your business, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah. And I think it used to be always like a monetary thing, you know, and I think I think I measure success more now from, like, when you're first running your business, there's like this chaos that will inevitably occur. And then you get really like panicky about it. And probably people that have anxiety, I feel for them, but it's probably harder even for them more than me, like with, let's say, very minor anxiety or something. It doesn't just happen. It's happening from events. But once you start to have like the muscle memory of like, yeah, like this should happen, like, and it's like no big deal, it's going to work out, and you're going to get past it, and you've done it so many times, cycled through it so many times, that you're like, yeah, I've like ran into like shitstorm like 100 times, like 200 times in the past 7 years or something, right? Then you're just like, now if that doesn't bother you, and you just recognize that is just part of the thing, and you just have that confidence, you're just going to get through it every time, and it's just like, yeah, I've been in way worse spot than this, like, geez, this is nothing to worry about. Once you get there, I feel like that's what success is just to not really have that sort of worry, and that it's not going to work out, or you're not going to pay your bills, or like, once you get past that, I feel like that's what success is. And even further to that, if you can pay your bills and you really like what you're doing, like, I feel like that's successful. And a lot of people, it's all money, 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 money. And, maybe it's a little bit easier for me to adopt this sort of Gary V, like, if you're doing something you love and paying your bills, you're successful, because I come from like a humble beginning where we weren't like privileged or anything like that. So, we never missed a meal, mind you, so I can't have nothing to complain about. I had a great upbringing, but it's easier for me to like see, I am like, I'm living in a city that I grew up coming to as a vacation. I live in that city, and I earn enough to pay my bills and some left over, and I mean, that's what success looks like.
Enjoy.
Yeah, man, that's what it looks like to me. And I meet a lot of great people like yourself, and people through the Agentic Foundation that I've been co-founder of a global nonprofit.
Awesome.
And I've met great people through that. Like, if I worked full time, like, I wouldn't have started teaching at Rotman in the MBA program. I wouldn't have met the guy in the first place that teaches at Rotman that kind of endorsed me to come in as one of his supporters, and he wouldn't have introduced me to this mentor that's been teaching me all this crazy AI shit that puts me in the 0.1% of agentic engineers worldwide. Like, I wouldn't have had all this opportunity, and did it. I had to eat it for a while, but it's all part of the story and the fun of the journey. And that's what all these big successful guys say, is like, they actually miss what it was like when they had shit and they were trying to make it. And they, that's when they felt most alive. And I don't know if I'll ever get there, but maybe someday.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, that's awesome though, man. What would you say you would maybe do different if you had to do it all over again from what you've learned now?
One thing I would have done is, and I'm not sure I could have done it any faster, but address the fear. I had a lot of fear, and I still deal with it, still working on it, but let's say it's 10, 20% fear as opposed to 80, 100% fear that it maybe once was. But having some confidence in myself, and maybe this goes back to that self growth piece, right? And I had the funds to maybe blow this thing up right away, and I just sort of didn't have the belief, and Tony Robbins talks a lot about belief. Like, your belief, addressing your belief patterns is incredibly powerful, and that's something I had a lot of limiting beliefs early on, and it caused me to really backpedal in terms of potential growth really early in the process. And if I had gotten that belief straight, where I believed I could really do great things, or whatever the case may be, I would have probably have achieved those things significantly faster with a lot less financial constraints, and I just didn't believe. It's not that I didn't believe I could sell, or I didn't believe I could do this or that, but I had a lot of self doubt, you know, which caused me to like kind of like, oh, I believed I could do it, but I also believed I was shit, or I couldn't do it, or whatever, you know. So those things kind of just washed out, and I just didn't get anywhere. Right?
Yeah,
Didn't get anywhere. And so that's one thing. If anything else, like get your beliefs straight and flush out that self-doubt. It's easier said than done, you know. Like it took me, sure. I don't know, four years to start to get really good at it. And it's like other people, you know, just took them no time, you know, and a lot of that. And I'm not going, this is not by any means bashing my folks or anything, you know, but it comes a lot from how you were brought up and the mentalities associated with that. If you grew up in a successful business house, and well, your parents are teaching you that shit your whole life, like you're wired that way. You didn't really, like, I'm wired to struggle and hustle, you know. So being like acknowledging that,
I think it's kind of a generational thing, probably, you know, around our parents' age. That, yeah, sure, there was definitely some people that were more thinking in a line of abundance, but I think it was just kind of a more of a common thing for people to be like, yeah, don't waste money and do this, save money, and, you know, and just trying to think in not necessarily that abundance mindset that. And I think some of it too is just, you know, being employed, and not that, you know, that's a terrible thing, but it's a different mindset when you get out and start doing your own thing, and you have to figure some of these things out. And it takes a little bit of unprogramming of, you know, you just don't know where things are going to go. You got to learn that, yeah, this is going to work. I just got to keep pressing forward and see some of the things come together, you know, too. So I totally understand what you're saying though, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And the deeper it runs too, right, Ryan? Like the deeper it runs, the harder you're going to have to work at it, or the more time it's going to take for you to undo it. Had I been a little more focused on, if I'm better, my situation will be better. If I kind of thought about that more and focused inward, I'm sure it wouldn't have taken that long. But, you know, we blame external, you know, situations and circumstances for the outcomes that we are in fact responsible for. And, you know, I knew that, like, in a sales sense, even starting this business, the second, like, I wasn't with my agency, my current business, like starting from a point of, like, I knew, don't blame the markets, don't blame Christmas, don't blame Halloween. Oh, people are not buying because it's this, or people are not. I knew that from a sales perspective, like, you got to, you know, that was kind of the limited knowledge I had of it. Like, if you blame Christmas, you're not making any sales in December. Like, sorry, you're just going to convince yourself that that's true. And then, you know, if everybody's doing that, and even if there are less deals, but everyone's saying there's no deals. So maybe you might have your best month of the year cleaning up all these deals that no one believes are, no one believes it's there. Right. And so that's the only real knowledge of this I had. But, you know, that's just one last piece I wanted to mention. If I really understood that it was me that needed to get better, because as soon as I started getting better and I started improving, I started being a better human being, more committed, more disciplined, more, you know, realizing I had these shortcomings that I needed to improve. As soon as I started addressing that, even just a little bit, like, shit just started happening. You know? Yeah. Like, I'm the same guy doing the same shit, you know?
It's like that mentality shift. Yeah.
That's all it is, you know? And I'm not going to maybe get into the quantum field stuff today. That's another project that I have. It's called,
another topic we could dive into.
Quantumvibe.ai is the other platform that I'm developing. Yeah. So it's fairly beta, even alpha, probably not quite beta right now, but it needs some hardening, but that exists. Awesome. Got some beta testers lined up for that one, but that's more of a passion project. It's not really a let's make money kind of project. It's, you know, pretty small ticket. But yeah, someone wants to buy it from me, by all means, take it off my hands, you know.
Got a lot of irons in the fire. That's for sure. That's awesome. Busy guy. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, Nick, to talk about all the things you're working on and some of the, experiences you've had in marketing and other things. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you really wanted to talk about before we wrap things up? Or
I mean, for entrepreneurs, just not to quit, right? Like there's so many times I could have easily just like packed it in and went and got my like previous job that I had worked before, a similar role, and started earning a healthy income, and just if you really want to do it, it's worth it. It's just you have to. It's not going to feel worth it maybe for a while, but it is worth it, and it might take you 5 years, it might take you 10 years, it might take you however long. You might be an overnight success. Like, great, good for you. That's great. I hope that for everyone, but for the most part, there's going to be a lot of challenges. It's going to challenge you mentally, emotionally. It's going to challenge you, and I'm an emotional guy, but it will challenge you. But if you don't quit, you will be successful if you refuse to quit. Will you have to change your approach maybe if something's not working? Sure. But if you don't quit, you will win eventually.
Yeah. And all those challenges are opportunities for growth along the way.
You got it, man. And that's the other thing. Like, if you haven't failed during the day, I haven't failed much today yet. But by the end of the day, by the time I go to sleep, I would have at least failed at a handful of things. And when I look back at the day, that's what I'm assessing, not how much money I made, not how many calls I made, not my whatever, none of that shit. It's all like, did I fail at something today? And it's like, well, why would you want to fail? Like, I don't want to fail, especially not in public. Oh shit, I don't want to fail in public. But that's the key. Like, if you haven't failed during the day, you haven't tried hard enough, you haven't expanded yourself enough. And if you keep failing long enough, you just start wearing this like armored suit that you can just go to war in, and bullets just kind of fly off.
That's good, man. I like that. Yeah. That's good. Right on. Well, I appreciate it, Nick. Where can somebody go to learn more about some of the stuff you're doing, or work with you on something?
You can look me up on GitHub, Global Business Advisors, or you can also just find me on LinkedIn, Nick Ruest. That's Ruest. I know it's not the best name to pronounce, but that's the one I was given. So, you can look me up there. You'll see all the Agentics Foundation stuff. We also have live events for the Agentics Foundation worldwide, and several dozen cities around the world. And we've held live events on 3 continents. I think maybe even 4 continents now. So if you like AI and Agentics and stuff, reach out to me. And there's always room for people to volunteer. It's a volunteer-based organization, but you can also go and network with some like-minded people. And there's the odd VC that will attend these meetings as well, and then employers, recruitment people, they like to show up to these events to meet all the tech folks in the room. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, by all means, reach out to us. And we're always we have live events online on Thursdays and Fridays at 12 o'clock Eastern time, Toronto, New York. So, one of them is just show and tell. That's the Friday. And if you really want to get into the coding weeds and see some crazy shit, it's Thursday at 12. So that's pretty much all I have.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Nick. Thanks for your time so much. Been a really good, informative discussion. Got into the weeds, some really interesting stuff, and really appreciate it. Thanks again.
Yeah, lots of fun. Thanks a lot, Ryan, for having me on.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, you too.
You've been listening to the BizGrowMojo podcast with Ryan Amon. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the BizGrowMojo podcast.